What's going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics. I'm back again with another 5-topic video. If you haven't watched one of these before, basically, I've got 5 topics that I want to talk about. Not sure that I feel like they can be long enough or in-depth enough to cover a full video, but I think they can be combined to make kind of an interesting video, just kind of as a whole. I don't do any cuts in these. I've said before, I kind of like these because I feel like it's more of like a conversational type video where you're just kind of getting my unfiltered thoughts on these subjects. And I feel like there's some spicy ones in this one today. But one of the things that I always do is I open these up with just showing off a book. So I haven't shown this one in a little while. So I've been generally showing like PC books, not always, but this is one of my PC books. This is Walt Disney's Comics and Stories #1 in a 4.5. I've shown books before where they have these kind of like page turn covers, and I love the page turn covers. I think they look really cool. There's some in Batman, for example. I think there's some maybe in like the Captain Marvel run or something like that. But I love the page turn covers. I just think it's kind of like a break in the wall, type thing that I like. I also like solid backgrounds like this. I like red, like you can see. But this one especially was interesting because when I bought it, it was in a magazine slab, and I measured the book. And I was like, this thing should not have been put in a magazine slab. It should fit in a normal slab. I sent it back to CGC. I said, I put a note on it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this can fit in a normal slab. Can you please reholder it? And ended up getting it reholdered. So, I had to pay for it. I had to pay for the reholder because I bought it already graded and all that. But yeah, I think it looks so great in the standard size slab. All right, we're gonna move on. Before we do that, little extra business here. I'm going to share my screen real quick. So I've shown a lot of unboxings recently and that kind of thing. A lot of people ask who some of the pressers that I use, and I have a deal going on right now with one of those pressers. And so this is Impressive Comics Pressing Services. Got the website up here, www.impressivecomicbooks.com. There is a promo code. So when you go to submit books, there is a promo code. You have to enter it right here, AUTO20, AUTO20, so AUTO20, and then you get 20% off your pressing. And his prices are already great. I've said it before, like $13 for a modern, 20 for vintage, and then 65 for kind of like a walkthrough high value book. So 20% off of that, great deal. So just make sure to reach out to him, and you've got to put that promo code on there, AUTO20. All right. Now, I don't want to spoil what we're going to be talking about there. All right, so go back to full screen for just a second. So the first thing we're going to talk about. This was one of the kind of interesting topics that the year kicked off with, and this was from the podcast that I'm doing with Swaggle House Comics, Neo Cards and Comics, and the 99 Newsstand. Podcast called The Ungraded Truth, every other Saturday, and one of the things that we talked about was what were our predictions for this coming year. And one of my predictions was that the prices of Absolute Batman would drop. And I got a lot of hate for that one. But man, it's starting to happen. so I got to make sure I point this out, because I had some people that were not too friendly to me in the comments section when I said that the prices were going to drop on this, and because I said, like, it's just it'll come down to the census. Like, it's a modern book. There's going to be a ton of 9/8. I think the exact words were something along the lines of, basically, you're an idiot if you think that the print count matters, that it's lazy if you think the print count matters. It's like, no, the print count matters. It's like the most important thing. And so what I have here is I've been tracking. There we go. I've been tracking the prices of Absolute Batman 1 in a 9.8 over time, along with the change in the census. And I think this is such a great graph, and not just because I see the price dropping, like, that's not what I'm talking about here. Well, I am, but that's not what I'm really getting at there with how it's a great graph. It shows you perfectly how the census changes when the price of a book jumps. So it's like we had this kind of regular, like, so the black dots here are the census. Then their count is over here on the right for CGC 9.8 universals. The blue is every individual sale, and the red is a 5 sale average. I have 5-day moving average. That's not actually correct. It's last 5 sales. And so just to kind of smooth out some of these like big spikes. And you can see like the price started spiking at the beginning of October, but we didn't see a jump in census until kind of like mid to late December. And that's because when you're getting something pressed and cleaned and graded at CGC, it's about a 8-week turnaround time. It's like it's almost perfect alignment. It just shows you exactly what happens. Price spikes. There is not enough quantity out there to meet the demand for the 9.8s. And so there's a limited number of 9.8s available. Price jumps. Then you have the 9.8s because you've got that lag, that lag in when people can get them graded and when they can get sold. Then you have the census start to climb, and immediately, the price starts to drop. And so this right now, this sales data was from February 17th. That was the last dates that I put in here. But yeah, I think that it shows it perfectly. If I had something for like that first white vision, like we'd see the same thing. But like I was talking about with one of the watchers of the channel, kind of on Instagram, that was during COVID. So that he was saying like, that muddies it a little bit, but this is a perfect chart. And it's because we don't have any of that kind of outside influence. It's just that you had a book that was like $100 book, wasn't in all that much demand. For whatever reason, it started to spike in October of last year. There was a lag in the census growing. So the lag in 9.8s available for sale. The instant you started having that jump in 9.8s for sale, the price, just the drop, it's perfect. Like it's a perfect alignment. And so that's what we're talking about, and this is just the kind of thing where it's like, it's not just this book. I'm not crapping on Absolute Batman. Like, I know, like, it is a very popular run. People really like the writing and everything. Like it's not taking anything away from the story. It's just saying that a modern 9.8 that had a very substantial print run for a modern book in this era, and that saying that the census doesn't matter is crazy, because there's tons of them out there. It's easy to grade. People are even paying pretty high numbers for like 9.6s and 9.4s. You're going to get all that stuff graded, and it is going to drive up the census quickly. It's averaging like 120 to 150 new 9.8 universals per week. Per week. Like, I don't know how long this trend is going to stay, like when it's going to start leveling out again. We'll just keep watching it. But it is definitely climbing fairly quickly. And the reason I was able to get all this data was because the CGC data site started pulling in data again. So I was actually able to get this back data and everything. So that was great. But that's Absolute Batman #1. So just, be cautious out there, because the price is likely going to keep dropping as this count keeps going up until it gets to some, I don't know. It's probably going to average out somewhere above where it was. I don't know if that's $200 or $150 or $250 or whatever it is, but it's going to keep dropping for probably a while. All right. Next topic. Talk about this one. So this Crow #1. And so this was because of a post that I saw on, I think it was on Facebook or Reddit. I don't remember. I think it was Facebook. And it was somebody who was like getting really angry at cover price. And I use cover price too. And so they're getting really angry at cover price. They were angry about the price that it had for a 9.4 of Crow #1. And I think when he posted, it had it as like 850, but some new sales data has been, is in there. And so I think a 9.4 now is, it's 1100. And the person was like, show me where, you could ever get a Crow 1 9.4 for $850. And I'm like, if you just looked at the data, you'd see that you could get a Crow #1 9.4 for $850. Like if we jump over to the sales data, so if you're not familiar with cover price, so there's 3 main pricing tools that I tend to use. I use Go Collect and GPA and cover price. And so one of the great things about cover price is the raw data that it has as well. But they do also have the graded data, and they're integrated with, is it CLZ? I think I got that right. I don't use that app. So that's how that pricing data gets sent over. But if you go to the C sales data for the 9.4, We go down here, and I don't know if you can read this or not, but it's $999, $14.20, which was a huge outlier. That was a My Comic Shop sale. I don't know why. Some like My Comic Shop, for whatever reason, gets these massive outlier sales every once in a while, but they do. But it was $999, $14.20, $887, $996, $875, $800, $950, $891, $935, $1,200, $990. Like there were multiple sales around that $850 point. There was an $800 sale, an $875, and I think this is 807. I think it's 807. Sorry, not 887. And so there are multiple sales that were down at that price point. You could get that book at that price point. And so it's just about like, I know sometimes people still struggle with the prices that books used to go for during the comic boom. Like during the comic boom, look at this. Like this was, and here we can show some more data. Like during the comic boom, this book got up to like 1,800, 1,600, 1,600, 1,700. Like they remember those numbers, and some people just can't accept that the price has dropped, and it has. Like almost all these books have been cut in half. And that's why it's like, yeah, like this book, you know, if you're patient, you can get it under $1,000 pretty easily. You know, like again, I don't know why that person paid $14.20. Like I guess they really, really wanted it. But yeah, everything else here, you know, the last like 8 or 9 sales have all been under $1,000, with 3 sales around that 850 or less price point. So just something, you know, to be aware of is that before you go out there and like making all these claims, like just check the data. It's why it's great that these sources are out there. GPA, Go Collect, Cover Price, all that kind of stuff. Like you have so much data available and it doesn't cost that much. It's one of my biggest gripes I always make with the comic community is that so many people are just way too cheap on the wrong things. It's fine to, you know, not want to waste your money. But like if you're spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on a comic book, spending 8, 10, 12 or whatever bucks a month for one of these services that pulls in data, you should do it. You know, like, yeah, eBay is an option, but that's only giving you one piece of information. Like one piece of information when you have all the auction houses, you have everything else out there that you could have sales data from. But yeah, that's just my thought on that. It's like, just, yeah, there's tons of data out there. You know, you never really have to overpay for something especially if you're patient. Like sometimes you just want it, and I get that, but still that 14.20 sale is crazy. All right. Now I got another topic. This has been, because of the last few weeks, maybe the last month, this topic has been really hot on all the different, you know, subreddits and Facebook groups and everything. And this is about spec. Now I have 2 different topics that I'm going to do with this one. The first one, here, I'll share my screen again. First one is this, and I'm just going to kind of go into something based on this one. So this is White Sky. This person says, managed to snag one at my LCS this morning. I tried to get 2, but they had a 1 per customer limit. And so the topic has been, what should an LCS do that has a book that's hot before it officially drops? And so the books, there's one, I don't remember what the name of it is. It's like something about a hippopotamus or whatever, but there's another one that's going crazy right now. It's just, this stuff isn't my lane, but I can still speak to it. But we had Dork, you know, like a week ago. And so D''ORC. Then we had White Sky this week. Then we had this hippopotamus one. And it's these books that are going from, you know, like cover price to like $40, $50, $60, $80, like instantly. And so the question is, what is the responsibility of the LCS when they have that book? Are they like, should they put it on the counter at cover price, or should they mark it up and sell it at market price? Now, I know what the vast majority of people are going to say, and it's that they should sell it for cover price. And so I'm kind of, I think it's an interesting one. And because I've seen both sides of it in the comment section. I'd love to hear what people have to say. Please try to keep it polite, you know, in the comment section on this, because I know this is a topic that gets people pretty riled up. So I've seen the side where people say like LCSs are struggling today. Like if they need to make money, they should make it where they can. And so like I can kind of get that. I also see it where people say that, they should leave it at cover price for at least X number of days. And if then by certain like 3 days or 5 days or whatever it is, then they should mark it up. Um, so I've also seen like, obviously this person said the one per customer limit. There's not really a wrong answer. Like, I mean, these are all private businesses. They can do whatever they want. But one thing I'll say on this. So I'll say a few things. Actually, I'll say a few things. I'll go back to full screen for my thoughts on this one. So I like knowing how comic collectors are, like seeing all the stuff in the comment section, knowing how riled up people get on this type of topic. If I owned an LCS, I would not put it on the counter or the shelf at the new market price, because to me, the blowback that you get, the potential loss of customers that you get to make like $40, it's not like people were over ordering this book. It's not like they've got 100 of them, and they could make $4,000 and cover their rent or something. It's like these are the types of books where people were not over ordering, and maybe they have 3 or 5 or something. It's like you're gonna make a couple $100. That's not changing your bottom line, really. Like when you have one of these books happen every couple weeks or a month, at best. And so I if it was me, what I would actually probably do is I would, if whoever got theirs, who had pre-ordered them, had them on their pull list, they obviously get theirs. And then I would probably like put them in the boxes for the people that are my best customers in terms of like long-standing pull lists, to reward them for being that long-standing customer that keeps paying their bill every month, that's consistent, so that they understand that I appreciate that. Like, after I thought about it for a bit, because at first my like initial thought was, I was like, yeah, just mark it for what it is, because like people are just going to come in and they're just going to buy it and flip it anyway, so why doesn't the shop get the money instead of like just some flipper coming in? But then I thought about it, like I was talking about it in a group a little bit, and I thought about it a little more, and I was just like, I think the best way to do it is to reward your good, consistent customers that have pull lists, that are in good standing, that have been with you for a long time. That's how I would do it. Because, and then you make sure you tell people that, like you tell people that, so that then you can, like, that can drive more business to maybe get people to make pull lists at your shop. Like that is the path I would go. Now, I don't think it's wrong if you want to just put it on the shelf at cover price. I think if you do that, I would absolutely put a limit, just to at least make people a little like think you're at least trying, because I did see posts where people are like, oh, like a guy walked in and bought 5 of them. There was only 1 or 2 left or something like that. And like, if a book is hot, people are going to come in and buy it. Like, I get it. If it's something where you don't want to prevent somebody from buying something because you need to pay your bills and you want to make sure that that stuff sells. But when it's something like this that you already know is hot, then you don't have to worry about that. Like, they're going to sell. So I think that's fine. Like a limit is fine. But yeah, I would not put it out at like current market, the $40 or $50. I think for the little bit of extra money you're going to make, you are going to burn too many bridges. It's just like the people who look up eBay prices at the counter. Those shops go out of business. It's like, it's the bad customer experience. And that's really what you need to think about when you're, like an LCS. Like, I just like, if that's what's making it so you make it, to the next month, you've got other problems. Like one selling a couple books for like $80. If $80 is what gets you to the next month, like, you got other problems that you need to worry about. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I'd like to hear what other people have to say about that. But yeah, the kind of my other just kind of like topic I wanted to mention on this a little bit was that I do really think that this is great. Like that's been one of the things that to me has been, I think it's interesting that I see a lot of negativity in a lot of comments. And actually, what I'll jump to the next one, kind of in line with that. So there's this post here. It was this week's, Absolute Batmans. This is in the Absolute Batman subreddit, and they posted, like 4 copies of cover A, and then like a bunch of like the variants or whatever. And holy crap, the comment section was not friendly in there. Like, they're angry at this guy, like he's a flipper, he's garbage, blah 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 blah. And like the whole like, oh, speculation is ruining the hobby, like all that stuff. Like, personally, I think it's great that we're seeing this again. That we are seeing books like this, like White Sky, like like Dork, that are actually getting people interested. Because one of the ways I look at it is that, like, because people get so angry, and they act like it's because they couldn't get a copy. They act all high and mighty. It's like, oh, it's because I couldn't get a copy, or blah blah blah. And it's like, no, if you look at it honestly, if that book hadn't popped off, would you have bought it off the shelf? And if the answer is no, then shut your mouth. Like, that's what I gotta say on that. Like, if the answer is no, and if you are truly honest with yourself, and I feel like most people won't be, they'll be like, no, I'd buy it. I don't think so. I think if you're truly honest with yourself, if you would not have been interested or even given a second glance to that book, if it hadn't popped off and everybody's talking about it, and it's like, oh, $40, $50 book, and now you're mad you can't get it and all this, then yeah, like, shut your mouth. Because like let the people that got it get it, like, they planned ahead. Like, some people got it on their pull list, whatever. It's like, to me, like, that speculation, that excitement in comics is good. Even if you missed out on some book or whatever else, it's like, it's good that there is excitement in some of these other properties. And I do really actually I like seeing it in the kind of the more independents, like the Image stuff. Because that kind of goes back to what I was talking about in a prior video with manga, and having like all the different genres that you're kind of missing in the big two, and like DC and Marvel, where it's just basically all superheroes. So I like seeing those other genres, like Dork, like a kind of like a fantasy, it's a little violent, but fantasy fun art style and all that. Or White Sky, which is kind of like, I've heard, kind of like a Last of Us style type of a story and that kind of thing. Like, I like seeing that type of stuff get excitement, because if you don't have that, I know people hate, like, get so worked up about flippers and all this kind of stuff, and people who are like in the stuff with like Pokemon and One Piece and all that. But if you don't have at least some of that excitement in your space, in your hobby is dying. Like, your hobby is dying. And so that is good to have, even if you've got to deal with, maybe you couldn't get that book at cover price. But yeah, no, I mean, I just, yeah, that was one of the things I was thinking about recently, was just like, how many of those people that are angry in the comment section would have even given that book a second thought? And I bet it's very, very few. Like, maybe somebody would have gone, like, I'm sure there's some small percentage that would have picked it up off the shelf. But I bet you the only reason that a vast majority are angry that they missed out on it is only, not necessarily because they wanted to make money on it, but it's that it popped off and then they couldn't get it. It's more, they couldn't get it. Now it wasn't an option for them unless they paid like $30 or $40, and that's what they're angry about. That's my thought. That's my thought on it. Maybe I'll get some hate in the comments about that one, but that's how I feel. Last topic. It's not a big one. But the last one I just had on here is, I thought this was interesting. And it was from my last video. I think it was my last video, not last video, but last 5 topic video. And that was about the person that messaged me on eBay about that book that was the 1958 version of a title. And they, for whatever reason, thought it was like maybe the 1951 version, even though in the listing I said it was the 1958 version. And they were like, you need to refund me and pay for my grading fees. And this kind of stuff. And I did offer to refund them. They would have to return the book, but I'm not going to pay their grading fees. But they never messaged me back. Like, it was so weird. Like, they came in super hot, like kind of like yelling at me, telling me like, oh, basically like that I lied in my listing and that, you need to pay me back all this. And then they never messaged me again. It's like, now in my response, like I said, I was lucky that I generally do not delete the emails that I get from eBay when I have a sale. And so I actually had the image from that email of the listing. And so I was able to screen, because otherwise the sale was 8 months ago. Like, it was in like July of last year. And so I was able to grab that screenshot and, and send it to them and be like, hey, like, this is how I described it. Like, I didn't misrepresent anything. And I wonder if they're just like, oh crap, I guess I'm not going to say anything then. It was so weird. It was just so weird that they came in so hot and then crickets, like nothing. Maybe they were hoping they'd, get something out of me, and, I wouldn't fight it at all. And I happened to have some information on it, and I did, and then they're back. So I don't know. It's wild out there. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Remember, Impressive Comic Books, promo code AUTO 20 get you 20% off. I always like showing these books. I really like this one. I said, one of my PC books. It's awesome. Yeah. I love the red. It looks so cool. And like, I've talked about this before. Like, this is one of the things I just really like about Golden Age books in CGC cases, is how they like fill up like side to side and top to bottom. It just like, it looks super clean. But all right. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Again, appreciate everybody that has become members of the channel. And I will see you on the next one.